think you all know me, but I'm Eric Olson, Director of Elections for Prince William County. With me tonight is a whole crew here. John Alvarez, our Assistant Director, who handles all of our election operations and training. Dan Garrigan, our Training Coordinator, and Dina McBride, our Training Manager. So we are all in the office this evening for this training and to answer your questions and make sure you all feel ready for this election, which got called less than a month ago and is only a week away. So we're going to cover just some reminders tonight. We're going to emphasize some problem areas and maybe how to fix them, note a few things that are related to this election in particular. We're going to review some important issues like safety and observers, and provisional ballots a little bit, your check-in process, and then we're going to answer any questions that you have for this election. So this election is for the House of Delegates 23rd District only, and that includes about 40,000 voters in Prince William County. We have already mailed 2,900 ballots, and the deadline for that has passed. So that is our number of mail ballots that have gone out this election. I think we've had roughly 800 voters that have either voted early so far or voted by mail. That's a pretty truncated early voting period for this particular election. The precincts involved here that you all are working on election day do encompass 3 different magisterial districts. So we have 9 from Potomac. We have just one small precinct from the Neabsco district, and then we have 3 from the Woodbridge district. So those are all included, and then there's a handful of precincts in Stafford County, just over our southern border there, that make up the rest of the precincts for this election. They have about 15,000 voters, but they only had a handful of voters through last Saturday. So the majority of the district is a Prince William district. I think you guys can probably expect, we're expecting maybe around a couple thousand voters on election day, give or take, 3 or 4,000 would be very busy. 1,500 would be probably a low turnout. So you guys should probably expect about 150 to 200 voters at your precinct. Could be a little less, could be a little bit more, but it should be a relatively easy day for everybody involved. Usually special elections, the overall turnout is only somewhere in the 5 to 10% range generally. Early voting is taking place at 3 different locations. Dumfries has been the most popular by far, as it's right in the middle of this district for us. But the Office of Elections and the Ferlazzo building are also open. It's all of our standard hours. So at this point, it's just Wednesday through Saturday this week. So we will note it's a small election. So as election officers, tell your friends and neighbors, let them know. We did send out voter guides to all of the households that are in this district. So anyone in the 23rd that has a registered voter and or has a residence in this district, we sent a flyer to them, a postcard that detailed when early voting was, how to vote on election day, and some details like that. So those of you who are living in this district, you probably received those. I believe it was just before New Year's Eve. So that helps with people being a little bit more aware. It also helps them know that they are in this district, whereas people that are outside this district obviously did not get that postcard. Pretty simple ballot this election. There is one contest. Margaret Franklin, the supervisor, is representing the Democrats, and Verndell Robinson representing the Republican. There is an option for a write-in as well. That is the entirety of the ballot for this election. Weather report. We are looking at a pretty warm day. We look at the weather a little bit more closely when we have some of these specials that take place in January or February, because we're conscious of snow and ice. Now, I should note that while early voting might have a late opening or be closed due to weather, election day is almost never a delay or a closure from weather. We have to hold the election regardless. That said, if inclement weather does come up, we know that some of you might not feel comfortable on the road, or the situation where you are might be bad. So if that does happen, please contact us and let us know. We will provide a weather update, hopefully the night before election day. And if this temperature pattern, weather pattern holds, it looks like it's going to be much warmer than anything that would create any of that inclement winter weather, but we will keep an eye on it because these patterns change and weather reports aren't reliable outside of 3 or 4 days generally. So we will keep an eye on that, and we'll provide text updates to the chief if we see anything that everyone needs to kind of be aware of. The equipment for this election by precinct, there's going to be 3 poll books. You'll have 2 at check-in and 1 at chief, a scanner, a touch writer, and a printer. Now, I'll note we have 2 check-ins at all the precinct, but you guys won't necessarily need to use them. I think 1 check-in will probably suffice, but we usually send 2 this way. Also, if you have an issue with a poll book when you guys are opening up and you're having problems with one, you can just go ahead and get started with the one that you've got and make sure you have one at the chief station for any provisionals. Provisional, in terms of provisionals, I would not expect a lot. I mentioned you guys should probably expect maybe 150 voters, give or take 50 people at each precinct. That could be a little less at some of the smaller precincts, a little more at some of the larger ones. The number of provisional ballots we expect in total would probably be somewhere in the 20 to 40 range at the most. So you're going to have a handful of provisionals in some precincts, and it's possible you'll have 0 or 1 in others. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let's make sure with such small numbers that we get that 100% right this election. When you're checking in voters, there is a new flag that's been added into the poll book. It's going to show up. If you go to look at a voter's name on the search screen, you're going to see the stop sign, no special. You are going to have a yellow bar all the way across that voter's information. So it's going to let you know that this voter is not eligible to vote in this particular election. It means they live outside the 23rd. I don't think you'll have a ton of voters that have that, but you might have some that come in. This is helpful too. If you go to the voter's profile, their voter detail screen, it's going to show you at the bottom the voter lives outside the district. So make sure you're not sending a voter to another precinct, for example, if you know they're not eligible to vote in the election anyway. This is a good opportunity to remind you, if you're not sure, just go ahead and call us at the office. You're not going to have a busy day. We're not going to have any crazy busy phone lines because there's only 13 precincts that are going to be open. So you can always call the office and we can look up a voter to make sure, you know, their information hasn't changed or to help you out with that process to make sure the voter is in the right place. So call Chief HQ or call the office for registration issues on election day. I'll make a note about active leadership. I mention this every election to make sure that your officers, you need to be watching them, monitoring them, helping them throughout election day to make sure they're using the poll book correctly, to make sure you're answering any questions that they have, make sure procedures are being done properly. A slow election is a good chance to groove in good habits. And most of your errors that we see arise in the first hour of the day. So we occasionally see somebody forgets a procedure, or they're just a little nervous for those first couple of transactions. They make a mistake. That's why you want to keep an eye on things so you can correct that right away. Where we see real problems arise is when somebody makes an error at the start of the day and nobody realizes it till it's 10:30 in the morning or noon. And then we have a significant problem. So make sure you keep an eye on your officers. Make sure they know that they can ask questions if they're not sure about something. Work as a real leader to support and help them throughout election day. And we also recommend you work as a leadership team to complete that first provisional ballot together. That might be your only provisional ballot on election day. And again, call Chief HQ if you're not certain, especially with those provisional ballots. I'm going to note a few common mistakes. John, do we have any comments or any hands raised that we need to address?
Not at the moment.
All righty. That was just an excuse so I could get a drink of soda there. Common mistakes we see. So we reiterated most of these before the November elections. These are, again, some of the things that we saw again in that election. Make sure you separate your ballots correctly. So your regular ballots go to check-in, your provisional ballots go to the chief station. If you start the day and your ballots are being rejected at the start of the day, it's probably because you mixed those up. You will be able to see at the top, if it's a provisional, it's going to say that at the top. Provisional ballots are in like a big green package when they arrive, so they're very distinct from your regular ballots. And I think we only had one precinct in the past November election that had that issue at the start of the day, realized it and corrected it. Still looking to get that to 0. So with only 13 of you, I have confidence that we can do that. Mistakes at voter check-in. So what we've seen occasionally is, especially for new officers, where they think a voter has already checked in when they were the one that just checked them in. If you see where the arrow's pointed here, it shows you the date and time that voter was checked in. So if you go to check a voter in, you go, oh wait, did this person already vote? You're going to see that the time that you checked them in was just 10 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago, a minute ago. If that's the case, it was you that just checked them in, let them vote. If it does say 3 days ago at early voting, or 4 days ago at early voting, then by all means, have that person vote a provisional ballot at that point. But the poll book has been updated to try to prevent that issue, but we're still seeing that, cropping up some. So keep an eye out for that this election. Some errors on provisional ballots that we see. Make sure you're completing the full election officer section. Make sure that the voter is completing all of the boxes that have an asterisk next to them. That's required information. Make sure they put the full social security number for the same day of registration, and make sure to check for all signatures. So when we see this on the main form, we really want you guys to do this, and noting the time really helps the board too for same day registration. When they see that information, it gives them some supplementary information that helps them make a decision. When it comes to the envelope itself, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and highlight the envelopes for you guys. We have early voting staff that is not that busy right now, so they're going to help us this week highlight some envelopes. So those are ready for election day. You're only going to need a handful at each precinct. That's going to give you a good reference. So if you have someone that's coming in and doing the same day registration, when they are done, you want to make sure to look over that form to make sure that everything that is a highlighted field that was required, that they filled it in. And the reason that's important is if you miss something that they should have filled in, their vote might not count. Full social security number is a very common one. Signature is actually a common one. I think partly because it's kind of at the bottom of the form and it gets indented so people don't always see it. So you want to make sure all those critical fields have been completed by the voter. Now, it is on the voter to complete that process, but you're the content expert here. You're the person who has familiarity with how these envelopes work and what they have to put in. So you need to be a good tour guide for that person so that their vote counts, and that it's not simply an oversight of they didn't see something on the form when they were fully qualified to vote. So make sure you pay attention to that, especially when it's an SDR. That could be the difference between somebody's vote counting and them not counting because we just weren't paying enough attention. Again, as was true in the general, this primary election where there's Republican or Democrat, irrelevant in a special election, so you would not mark that at all. You just ignore that section of the form. If the voter fills it out, you can just let them know it's not relevant. It's only to let us know what kind of ballot is inside the envelope if it's a primary. Okay, there is a new sticker on the provisional envelopes. We started this in November. That's going to continue. This is on the non-SDR side. It's going to have a barcode on it. Make sure you add this number. So you're going to see a number on the form under the barcode. In the tally point log for all provisional ballots, you are going to go ahead and put that in there. That really helps us match up all of the provisionals that you all report to us on election day as we're going through that post-election process and making sure that we're getting every single one that's been entered. So that was a good addition to the process. You also want to complete the time that this ballot was completed as well, that the voter came in. Okay. Polling place visitors, poll watchers, I would just remind you all, I've gotten really good compliments from both of our political parties that when the watchers have come in, that they have been treated respectfully and in a friendly manner. And that's really great. I know that sometimes some of those individuals can be challenging to deal with. And if you find yourself in one of those situations, let us know. we will come out and have an SA come by or have somebody from our board or staff come by. Sometimes I have to go by if there is just someone that's being too difficult. Because you can vote somebody out if they're interfering with the voting process. But generally, they're there to see and hear what's going on. They're going to, maybe make some notes. And if you're helpful to them, I find they are generally friendly back, and they do have a right to be there. So I think we will have very few poll watchers this election, though. I think for a special, on the one hand, there's very few precincts. There might be a few locations for some of the dedicated poll watchers we have out there, but it's not a high profile election either. So I don't think we'll have a lot. Media and campaigners are allowed as well. I think we haven't seen much in campaign this election. I don't know the candidates had even enough time to print up signs. Do we have signs at Dumfries or for Lazo, John? Do you know?
Yeah, I know we have some at Dumfries.
Okay.
Lazo, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. I know we don't have any here at the office, or at least we haven't. I think media is going to be pretty small, pretty unlikely you're going to have media. If you do, it's going to be one of our local reporters, not a big TV station or a newspaper or anything, I don't think. Again, if you have concerns about that, or you're not sure, you need clarification on the rules for them, or you think they're doing something they shouldn't be, give us a call at Chief HQ. We can help advise you on that. As always, not allowed within while the 40-foot line is really where we govern things inside that line. Outside of that, you're not allowed to have loudspeakers, brandish weapons, intimidate voters, or be a militia group out there. A couple of reminders at closing. So before closing, make sure you assign officers to tasks prior to closing. This helps everybody stay organized, and it helps you as a chief and your assistant chief really focus on closing down the machines and getting your results reported in, so that everybody kind of knows their job for a good 15, 20 minutes while you get that started and get that rolling. And make sure you have someone assigned and ready to close the ballot scanners. That's the most important thing at closing time. Tally point notes. Just a note, this is actually an opening reminder, but when you're opening tally point in the morning, it's going to ask you, are you ready? And you click yes. When you're doing that, you're just letting us know that you're in the building, you're there, you're set up, your equipment is open, you're ready to go. If it gets to be 5:30 or so, and you're having some kind of a problem with the equipment, please call us so that we can walk you through a solution to that. Most common thing we have are just some issues with the poll books. Usually the scanners are pretty good at this point, but we are there to support you if you need that. And just a reminder to report your hourly turnout and your ballots cast throughout the day. The end of night goal, as always, try to get our precinct results submitted by 7:45 in tally point. That means you've entered them. That means you've saved them. Really important here that you've double checked them. So if you're entering them as the chief and the assistant chief is reading off the tape, always a good idea to kind of switch roles, have somebody else read off the tape, have somebody else double check the entry before you submit the results and let us know that your results are in. You guys have done an outstanding job of this. I know in the November general, I think by about 8:15, we only had 2 precincts that had not reported. It might have even been like 8:10. We had 101 of 103 precincts reported. We're really the first, sizable jurisdiction in Northern Virginia to be done. And you guys reported them really accurately too. I think we had to correct like an undervote or maybe 2, like 1 under, 1 over, something like that. Very minor. So really excellent job. Keep up that great work for the special election. And also note to this too. I know at the end of the day, it seems like it's a small election, and you're tired at the end of the day. You're ready to go home. It's been dark for hours this time of year. It makes it feel even more tired. Make sure to sweat the details though at that hour, because it's easy to make the mistakes at that point in the day. When you're tired, when you're ready to get out of there, sweat those little details. Make sure you're double checking your numbers. Make sure your officers are signing all the forms. There's nothing we hate more at the office than having to call you up the day after the election and asking you to come in and sign something because nobody signed the tally tape. So make sure you have signatures on those critical documents. Do a final check of that before you drop them into the envelopes. A few final notes here. Wednesday, that's tomorrow. We'll have the link to the chief brief up, the PDF there. Chief pickup is on Friday from 9 to 4 and Saturday from 12 to 4. Get in touch with Dina if that's going to be a challenge for anybody. There is a workshop on Thursday from 10 to 4 over at the warehouse. A chance if you want to practice opening the equipment or going through some kind of procedure. Training team will be there to assist you with that process and give you a little extra practice. If you got too full of turkey and goodies over the holidays and you need to sharpen up a little bit, we are there to provide that for you. And we appreciate your dedication to that. Chiefs can also review equipment at the chief supply pickup. So it's available at that time as well if you just need a quick brush up on something or have a question. So overall, a special election should be pretty easy, but that's when mistakes happen. So slow down, make sure we're doing the job correctly, make sure we're paying attention to things. Call Chief HQ for any uncertainty. I've worked in elections for 15 years, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard an officer say, well, we weren't sure what to do, so we just went ahead and then ... And that's usually when a mistake happens. We are here to support you guys. We're here with the correct answers. The operations manual that we give you guys is about 150 pages long. And while as chiefs, we appreciate that there are many of you know a lot of that manual, and a few of you probably know all of that manual, that there's no shame in needing a refresher on something or in facing a situation that maybe you haven't seen before. That happens every election. So we encourage you to go out and have a fun and engaging election day, but also to make sure to slow down, to do things properly, and to pay attention, because it's easy in a very light election like this to let those things slip. We here in the office, we're doing this all in pretty rapid succession, but we have a tracking software that we manage, helps us manage the 300 and some odd tasks that we have to complete before each election. And even though some of them are pretty quick this election, we're still going through that process and making sure that we're doing all those things. And that is how we make sure that we have, consistent, good elections that our voters can have confidence in election after election after election. So we appreciate the role that you guys play in that, because we have gotten nothing but great feedback from the public and from our voters around Prince William County in recent years. And we have seen not only things executed well at the precinct level, but we've seen some of those problems that we've had to just improve a little bit at a time each election. And we want to keep that trend going. So I will stop it here. And then if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them until we are done. And oh boy, it's not even 7:30 yet. So pretty good.